Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Vibrant Soul Tarot and I'm super excited to have you here today. And speaking of super excited, I've been wanting to do this topic for a long time now. So now I'm excited that I am presenting it here to you. So today's topic is, who were you in a past life? Now, first things first, I want to just go over the fact that you, my friend, are an eternal soul. So you most likely have many, countless past lives. You may have taken on many forms and, been to many worlds, many places as well. So the reason why this reading is significant, or we are just going to be addressing one past life per reading, is because the past life that you feel drawn to, or the pile that you feel drawn to, is going to have some significance or be affecting your present life, so this life right now. So that's kind of the whole point to this reading. But I'm really excited about it. I find these readings are so fun. And so let's go ahead and get into the pile selection. Today we have these 4 piles to choose from. Starting right here, we have pile number 1. So we have the Tarot of the Divine along with this Opalite Angel. For pile number 2, we have the Bones Tarot along with this Citrine Wand. For pile number 3, we have the Ascension Tarot along with this Moss Agate Star. And then for pile number 4, we have this Obsidian Tower. So please take your time in choosing your pile. Just follow your intuition. If you need more time, you can pause the video here. When you do have your pile selected, I will post the timestamps for each one in the description box below for your convenience, and I can't wait to see you there. Bye! Hi pile 1, and welcome to your reading. If you chose the Tarot of the Divine, or if you chose this Opalite Angel, maybe, whichever one it is that you chose, welcome. So today we are asking, who were you in the past life, and why is it so significant to this life, or how is it affecting your life today as well? So we are going to be looking at the oracles first to see who and kind of what was going on a little bit, as much as we can in this life. Then we're going to be using the tarot to get deeper into it, specify a little more, as well as ask certain questions. Like, I want to look at, for example, what are some strengths and gifts that you've gained, from this life, from that life, that past life as well too, that you're taking with you in this life, because it's not all challenges and lessons and stuff like that. There are some good positive aspects that we all have to gain from our lifetimes, and wisdom and things like that. So let's go ahead and begin. I want to see first how much room I have before I so sorry while you bear with me. Hope you can still see that. Okay, so the first card we have for you on who you were in this past life is the Judge. We have the Judge, which is number 14. We also have Help. We also have the Karmic Relationship card. We have the Dilettante. We also have the Third Chakra, number 37. And then we have Kalima with Facing Fear. And it says, major spiritual changes are unfolding. This is your chance to soar. Interesting. Okay. What's really interesting is I felt called to look at what you had at the bottom of the deck, and we have the King of Swords, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and talk about it for you and see what I'm seeing here. Okay, the first thing that I want to point out is that in this life, for this past life, you had a lot of different talents and things like that you dabbled in, but I don't think you ever took them to the level that you really wanted to. I think that there were things in this life that really held you back, one of them being fear. But I feel as though with this karmic relationship, this is somebody that you are incarnated with in this life, is what I'm hearing as well too. So this person that you were involved with in this life, in that life, is in this life. in your past life is in this life. But yeah, so I feel as though you were held back a lot, first of all, by health issues. And I feel as though you sacrificed a lot of yourself and a lot of your time for this relationship. And I think that's one of the things that you are here to kind of overcome, especially with this connection. Is, I'm not saying this connection is bad in any way, shape, or form or anything like that. I'm sure there was a lot to learn, and you guys each have your different like contracts and things like that. But it's not giving all of yourself to one relationship and one person. I feel like there's an energy here of you allowing yourself to explore, first of all parts of yourself, but in this life to explore what it is that you feel you want to do. So I feel like this is a pile that has big ambitions in this, in this lifetime, I feel like, or at least you have specific things that you may want to accomplish. And if that's not the case, you for sure have just felt some way at some time that you are here for either a specific reason or that there's something really special here about you. Because what I love about this Judge card is that I feel like in this life, in past life, you were somebody who was very fair, but also you were somebody who stuck up for the people, at the bottom. Like if you saw that something was wrong, or, you were kind of like, it's giving me that energy of like you rooting for the underdog. You were very protective over people that couldn't protect themselves. But one of the biggest things that I'm seeing here is that when it came to yourself, you definitely put yourself on the back burner, or you weren't the same. Because I do believe that one of the things that hindered you in this life as well was self-esteem. With this third chakra especially, I feel like, finding your personal power in this life is something that's really important here for you. And now I feel like I'm almost getting an energy too that you had a lot of goals and you had a lot of things and ambitions in this lifetime that you wanted to accomplish that you couldn't have. And I think one of the things that held you back is this health. And some of these health problems I'm hearing for some of you may be in correlation to some health problems that you are having in this life as well too. Now take that as it resonates. If you don't have, any health problems or anything, then this was just the past thing. But one of the messages that I'm getting here is that it's almost as if you felt like you ran out of time. So maybe with these health issues, they hindered you to the point where you couldn't do the things you wanted to do, and it was like almost too late. And so now I feel like you're here to accomplish these things that you really wanted to. It's almost like you're going to let your heart sing with all of the things that, you didn't get to experience, that all of these things that held you back as well. And this karmic relationship, I don't feel like for the most part it was negative or bad, but I do feel like, again, it stopped you from being as independent and exploring yourself as much as you wanted to. Like I think you sacrificed a lot of your desires for this karmic relationship. So this could be a significant lesson in this life, that you're learning to put yourself first and to allow yourself to go after the things that you want, whether that is, just because it's the dilettante, it makes me think of like arts, obviously, and it makes me think of, so this could be like arts, music, or just anything, in particular that you feel like, you really want to do. I think this is a life about you finding your passion, finding your purpose, and what lights you up. And for a lot of you, with this facing fear, I think it comes with, and this is something that hindered you, that you weren't able to do in this life. So I think it comes with, of course, the fears and the doubts, you kind of pursuing these things as well, or just whatever it is in this lifetime now. But this is a message that, all the things that you're meant to be, or all the things that you're meant to do, are just on the other side of that fear. And that could be pertaining to being alone, or that could be pertaining to you and someone not, being together as well. Like, you could have been through a specific karmic relationship that taught you a lot about yourself. Because I feel as though it's almost, I'm hearing that for some of you, it's almost the opposite from this life. Like, in this past life, it hindered you and you didn't get to explore yourself. And then in this life, the same person or this karmic relationship taught you a lot about yourself and taught you about what you wanted as well too. But yeah, there was a big energy here of, your own power, your own divinity, and being that leader in your life, and not letting yourself hold yourself back as well too, because I do believe that there was a lot of self-judgments that were passed on, and I think it was because, you know, you felt like you weren't good enough to achieve anything, or it was too much, or you had other responsibilities and other things. And so right now in this life, I feel like it's your time to really, like I said before, really explore this as well. And I almost got an image as well too of like somebody on their deathbed as well, and it's almost like they were, one of their biggest regrets, they had a lot of regrets that they didn't get to do a lot of the things that they wanted to do, that they didn't get to explore a lot of the places or things within them that they wanted to explore. And so I think one of the biggest things about, you know, this life is that you don't want to have those regrets anymore. And since you didn't get to do it, I think your soul is coming through and saying, like, push through, like, we have things to do, and trust me, they're going to be so freaking amazing as well. And now one of the things that I think you're learning in this life that I'm hearing is about your self-esteem as well too, and about knowing that you have what it takes and that you are good enough as well too. And that comes with self-judgments, and that comes with, regardless of how much experience you think you've had, you have special gifts here in this life that you are meant to explore, that you are meant to share with other people. And also, I think this is something that's going to bring you some sort of stability and some sort of financial gain for a lot of you as well too. So you're really meant to push through that fear and to be a go-getter, I think, in this life. And there's a lot about independence as well here too. It's almost as if you felt in this past life that you really needed somebody by your side to, and I'm not saying you're not going to have, this doesn't mean you're not going to have anybody by your side. It's just, this is just the, like, your belief or what you're here to maybe overcome, is that you don't need anybody to be by your side. But like I said, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have anybody by your side. It's just, I think you're the most important person in your life. And I think in this other life, you really allowed other people to be more important, to the point where when it was almost too late. And that's why for some of you as well too, if you have been feeling, or you have felt like you have to do something, like if you've just had this weird feeling of you're running out of time, that's something that came from this life as well too. So just be aware of that. I don't believe that you're really running out of time. I believe that you did run out of time in this life. And so you had some sort of regrets here. But yeah, but just to sum it up, you had a lot of amazing talents and so much potential that you knew inside was there. I think that other people held you back, as well as health issues may have held you back, as well as your own judgments and self and fears have held you back. So it's very, I feel like, a liberating life for you this lifetime, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and let me just make sure. Oh, 1122 on the clock right when I look at it too. So that could be significant for some of you. Let's go ahead. I have these questions over here. Okay, so let's start out with, what are some strengths and gifts that you inherited from this life, or wisdom, or whatever. And for some of you, this life could have taken place in an era. Okay, so you could have been female in this life, regardless of your gender. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the word. Regardless of your gender now, because I know I've had past lives where I was a completely different gender, I was a different ethnicity, you know, all of these things. None of that really matters, and except it's just we feel like an attachment to it in this life. But regardless, for some of you, because of this image, because of how drawn I am to it, because normally I wouldn't say like it has anything to do with this time era, but it's really, I feel like there was, it was in an era, like, okay, so it's, for example, if you were a female, it was in, or a woman or whatever, it was in an era where women weren't able to express themselves the way, you know, they can now, or the way that you can now. Because I feel like one of the things in this lifetime is that you do have a lot more advantages than you did in this past life. It's almost as if like you have more of a chance, more of a freedom to express yourself than you did then as well too. So that doesn't have to be the case, but that's just a message coming through as well too. And that could be for any gender, but I am thinking a lot of you in this life was a female. Should I say female or should I say woman? Because sometimes I don't like when people say female, but you get it. You get what I'm saying. Okay, so what are some gifts that pile 1 has inherited from this lifetime that was passed on? What are some strengths or gifts? We have the Ace of Cups. I love that. So one of the gifts here is like a fresh new start, a new emotional experience. Like I feel like with this Ace of Cups, it's like the gift is like a new chance, a renewal as well too. And I think one of the biggest things is that the aces represent, as well as they represent new beginnings, they represent a lot of potential too, because the aces, you know, in some ways are like gifts from the universe. That's why a lot of the time it's depicted as like a hand coming out of a cloud, because it's like a gift of like, here, you know, it's a new start, it's a new beginning, and it's again a lot of potential, kind of like you had a lot of potential in this past life, but one of the gifts is like now you have the time, or you have what it takes, or whatever, or the circumstances for you to actually do something with it. Because a lot of the times, like the aces are like, okay, here you go, now what are you going to do with it? You know, now you have the potential and you have the resources to make it into the 10 of Cups, you know, or, you know, you have to find the wisdom to be the King of Cups or the Queen of Cups and things like that. And so I think that's really beautiful here as well. Yeah, it's like a fresh start. What are some other strengths and gifts, or strengths or gifts, or opportunities from this life past to pile 1, or that pile 1 possesses in this life? We have the 7 of Cups. So now you have a lot more options. You definitely have a lot more options and a lot more freedom to choose. Whereas what we were looking at before, and that what we were kind of just explaining, is that it doesn't seem like to be a time where you did have that many options, or you could do that. Almost like you almost were a little bit oppressed. And you kind of had to suppress these things as well too. So now you have the freedom to choose. Now you have, you know, all of this. And I love that it's the cups too. So it's like the Ace of Cups and the 7 of Cups, not just one cup. It's like, it's a bunch. You have more freedom, and then you're able to decide here whether like as your circumstances in your past life decided for you. And that was, I think, one of the biggest things for the regrets as well too. All right, so now let's see. What are some lessons that pile 1 is still facing from this life, please, Spirit? What are some lessons that pile 1 had to bring into this life as well, that pile 1 is here to face? Or has faced, I guess, for some of you. Let's see. So we have the 8 of Cups. So yeah, learning to let go. I think that there's been a lot of things that you have been wanting to hold on to. And I feel for some of you, I just can't help but to feel intuitively that this is in regards to some sort of karmic relationship as well here too. You know, you may have had to, and also, you know, this could just be walking away from a lot of things. It's the 7, we have the 8 cups too. So we have a lot of cups, which it symbolizes a lot of emotions here as well too. But I do believe that with this 8 of Cups, it's like you really had to let go, or have to let go of like either the past of like who you were, to, you know, to walk into who you're meant to be. as well as you probably had to let go of a lot of things that, you know, you wanted to hold on to in this life, aka relationships, people as well too. And so I think this is coming through to tell you and to remind you that these things that you are releasing and these things that you had to walk away from were for your greater good. This is for your own good and for you to advance in this lifetime as well too, because I think a lot of the things that you have walked away from or will walk away from are the same things that were holding you back before, and that were stopping you from, you know, being able to explore, to choose, or to just be that person that your heart has been calling you towards to be. And I think it has a lot to do with, again, your personal power and your own independence and things like this. Like, I feel like this is a very liberating energy. Like, I do feel like it is someone that is like, you are like undoing the shackles and the chains, and you are like literally breaking free. Now, you may have felt very restricted at times, and I think these are connected in ways too, because in this life you were definitely very restricted. Like we said before, you didn't have a lot of choices. You didn't have maybe these necessities, or, you know, you had other priorities as well, or even health issues. I think it's like probably, I feel like there's almost an energy too, like that's why we were thinking of like we were feeling them, you're running out of time, because it's like maybe when you did finally get the chance, it's like it felt like something else, like whether it was health issues or this connection, or you know, your own self holding you back with these fears and these judgments and things like that as well too. And I think that one of the biggest things that you also need to let go of here in this life is your own criticism of yourself as well. Like, that's definitely a lesson that I'm seeing here too, to not be so critical of yourself, and to let yourself experience life, like, you know, as a learner in the student seat as well. And that's something that we all need to do. It's not just because you still have so much to learn or anything like that. It's because we are an eternal student. We are constantly learning. We're constantly growing. Everything is either, you know, like they say, everything's either a blessing or a lesson. So let's get one more card in regards to, I keep looking back here, so sorry if the sound's like going away, because I wrote the questions down, but I didn't have anywhere to put them. So let me see. Oh yeah, any other challenges that pile one may be facing in this life that is in correlation to this past life for pile one as well too. And then we're going to no, I think that's it, because we're kind of talking about the other question as well already too. So never mind. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Okay, so what are some other challenges here for pile one? We have the 10 of Wands, a lot about releasing. So the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Cups together is telling me big release, as well as when it comes to other people's problems and other people's burdens. You know, I think that there's a boundary that for some of you, you know, that you've been learning to set as well too, and kind of put some space between that. And also I think that there's a need to have more fun as well and explore, and not work yourself too hard. But for the most part, these are two cards that represent a need for release. Let's clarify a little bit more of this 10 of Wands. I heard, what are you still holding on to, in my head right now. So let's see. Clarify this 10 of Wands here for me, please. Pretty please. We have the 4 of Pentacles. So this is all about holding on as well too, kind of holding on tightly. I think that one of the biggest things too that you may be needing to experience in this life is to not have control, kind of releasing control over things and letting yourself roam free. And that's a phrase that I don't think I've ever used before, but it's like almost like letting yourself not overanalyze situations. Trust, there's a big trust here to know that you are safe and protected as well. And also, one of the challenges here, I feel it may have to do with financial for some of you. There could have been some karmic energy when it comes to finances as well. For some reason, I'm getting like Saturn energy. So maybe Saturn could be significant into one of your birth charts, because Saturn is an energy of restriction as well too, but it also blesses hard work as well too. So maybe for some of you, I wouldn't say get to the point of burnout, But for sure, like I would say, you know, give yourself rest, because that's why it's coming through as a challenge. What is this? But for some of you, I feel like, you know, I feel like for some of you, you know, if you have doubted before that your hard work and efforts are going to lead to some sort of stability, that's definitely, if like that doubt is definitely lying to you, that your work is going to lead you to, you know, the stability that you've always wanted as well. But I feel like this is also, because of how much this is a liberating pile, like how much it's like this is like a free spirit. All of these things that you've been holding on to, all of these things, you know, in that life, in this life, you know, you're meant to just release and find some sort of freedom within yourself to explore here, which I feel like a lot of you are kind of doing right now. But it could be something, it could be scary, or it could be hard, and that's perfectly okay as well too. This is saying that, you know, it is challenging as well. But I think that one of the things that's coming through here as well too is to trust in the universe, that you are protected and that you are safe and that you will always be taken care of, no matter what it is that you feel like you want to do as well. So you can release a lot of burdens when it comes to, and I think that there's a forgiveness energy that needs to come in through here too. So maybe the forgiveness of certain experiences, forgiveness of other people in your own time as well too. I'm never here to say that you have to forgive someone or something, because I know that that's all happens in, you know, good time. I'm only here to tell you that, you know, when you do forgive, it does release cords as well too on your end, and sometimes we come here to forgive. But I think this is like to know that you are always going to be protected as well too, and you may not feel safe at times when it comes to, I'm hearing releasing expectations as well too. Releasing your expectations of what it is that you think it should be, or what it is that you think that is going to happen, and allow things to unfold naturally. So that is also in regards to releasing control, because sometimes when it comes to fear, we have a tendency to want to control or hold on to things that, you know, we're supposed to be releasing, because we're scared that we'll never experience those things again, or we won't get those things again. And I think that there's a big lesson here of trusting that you can release and allow things to come to you naturally as well too. So there's a bunch of different messages in there for you. So let's go ahead and get the last one here for you, my beautiful pile ones. Oh, I did want to say as well too, before I started the reading, I put the piles together like randomly, you know, like whatever decks I feel, I just grab them, and whatever toppers I feel I like, or I just grab them, or, you know, so on and so forth. But I want to say that, I completely forgot that, the fact that you chose the Tarot of the Divine and this opalite angel, I feel as though that you are divinely protected in this life as well too. And I feel like you are very much in tune to spirit. And I think one of the things here is to let go of the physical, and that kind of makes sense with this as well too, to let go of the physical and also, you know, attune to the divine just as much as you would with the physical here as well too. And I think that also this is telling me, because when I was looking at the angel, I was getting a very sweet, loving earth angel type of energy here, which I do believe is coming from you and coming from, you know, your spirit and your soul, of course, but just mainly you know. And so I want you to know that you are protected. That's why this message keeps coming up with that Four of Pentacles as well too, because look at this person is in the arms of a bird. I feel like that's a vulture. But it doesn't really matter what kind of bird it is. I know that there's like stories. There's these are based on different you know, myths and things like that, and folklore and stuff like that. So there's a specific one, but anyways, but it's protected as well too, as well as these flowers. Oh my gosh. So a hummingbird could be a sign for you, could be very significant to you as well. But there's these flowers here that are the angel trumpets. And these remind me of Archangel Gabriel. And before I started this reading, my throat chakra was going crazy. And I asked, and it's just because he's, you know, the Angel of Truth as well. And in the other deck, he's in there with the throat chakra. So this could be very significant too, but you have angelic protection for sure as well. So don't be afraid to speak your truth as well too. But my throat chakra was going off before I started this pile too. So that could be significant. I asked if it was significant to this pile, and Spirit said, we're opening yours. We're opening your throat chakra. So I didn't say anything, but you know, now that we're here, it could be, and I'm mentioning it now. There's always a reason why, you know, I'm mentioning something. But yeah, you are very, very protected here. It's like literally this person is wrapped up in these protections as well, too. So I think a lot of this, you know, is to release a lot of your worries. So that's one of the biggest messages, I think, of releasing here too, is release your worries about where you're going or where you're going to end up. Just kind of focus on what it is that, you know that you need to do. Which is, you know, where you feel led, where you feel guided to. It's never anything that's like, you know, you're not going to get a message. Well, I shouldn't say you're not, because maybe you could get a message. But like, you know, it's never like, usually it's never like, this is what you're going to do. We know there's a whole plan in this and that. You know, we usually kind of have to listen to our inner voice as well, to our inner guide, which is kind of at the same time, it's what lights us up. Which with this energy of your past life, I feel like that was a lot of the things that you had to sacrifice and you had to put on the back burner. So all in all, this is a very beautiful energy. And like I said, I feel like if I could sum up this pile in one word, it would be like liberation, freedom, or I heard the phrase, let go, let God. That works too. And then we have the Four of Wands at the bottom of the deck too. I love that. Coming home to yourself as well too, as a self-union, as well as maybe a union in many different forms in relationships as well too. And I think that this is saying that you will have all the things that you want here with this Four of Wands, that things will come together. You will reach that final point. You will reach that destination. It's all about you, especially in this life, like and kind of overcoming those things that you couldn't achieve before. Like this is saying that you're basically already there, because it's for sure, like it's that you're going to achieve those things. Even though I like to say nothing is set in stone, we have certain things that we know. And also when it comes to spirit, time isn't linear. So there's different, just trust me, you're going to do it. And it's going to be a celebration of this life. Celebrate your life is always a good lesson as well too. And that's actually something Spirit reminds me to do all the time, is to celebrate my existence, because, you know, it's a blessing to even be here at times, even though it does not feel like it. And that's okay, that we don't have to feel like it's a blessing, you know, to be here all the time. But just know it truly is, that we are little miracles, and we deserve great things. You definitely deserve great things. You deserved great things. I feel like you deserved more in that life as well too, Pile 1. And so now it's time for you. Okay, so sorry, it cut me off once again. It's been doing that so much lately, but good thing is though, I basically said everything that I needed to say in the reading, and it only cut me off when I was just saying goodbye. And I was saying that I appreciate you guys so much, and I want to thank anyone who supports this channel in any way, whether that's like, comment, shares, or you're just supporting it from afar. Just know that I appreciate you. And yeah, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe if you would like to see more readings. And other than that, I can't wait to see you guys in the next pick a card. Bye! Hi Pile 2, and welcome to your reading. If you chose the Citrine Wand, or if you chose the Bones Tarot, either way, welcome. I'm glad you're here. So I just had a crazy download about your pile, and I cannot wait to share it with you, but I have to just firstly explain what's going on here first. So we're gonna see with these oracles, these pre-pulled oracles, exactly who you were in this past life and how it may be affecting you in this life as much as we possibly can with this. But mostly this is about who you were, and some things that you had gone through. Then we're going to be using the tarot here to get deeper into that. So ask more specific questions, such as like, what are some strengths or some gifts you got from this past life and carried into this life, as well as some other lessons that you may need to address or see now, like see right now, you know, and so on and so forth. So basically, we're going to get more specific into that. We may even kind of change the questions as the reading goes on to best suit you into what you may need to know. But let's go ahead and get into it, because I heard some crazy stuff from Spirit right now, and I just cannot wait to tell you. So the first card we have for you is the comic, which this is like my favorite card in that whole deck. Well, one of them actually. I don't think I can just say I have a favorite card, but that's one. It's pretty close. Top 3. Okay, and then the next card we have for you is Persecution and Inquisition, which is tied to the message that Spirit gave me. The next card we have is Vows. The next card we have is Serapis Bay with Ascension, and I'm so sorry, I may be saying that wrong. Move into your true self, rise above the darkness, the light is here. We have the Martyr. Oh my gosh, this is making so much sense. I cannot wait to share this with you guys. But let's go. I'm so sorry. I keep keeping you waiting, but we have to see the cards first. Okay, so we have the Martyr, which is learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause, and then the shadow attribute is addiction to self-pity. And then last but not least, we have Caring Connections. Okay, let me spill the beans. So as I was getting this pile ready, or like basically like literally right about to press record, I heard Anne Boleyn. And I was like, okay, so I obviously, you know, wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that. And Anne Boleyn was the Queen of England. I don't know exactly what year, but she was married to, I want to say, King Henry VIII. I'm so sorry if that's a little bit off, but basically, and you can see in these cards, guys, you're gonna trip out. So so basically, she was persecuted of committing adultery and breaking the vows of her marriage. And she was beheaded. So I feel as though a lot of you have some sort of connection to that specific past life, whether it is that exact reincarnation or something similar. And one of the craziest things is that I was sensing when I was shuffling, I was sensing this heartfelt, a very heartfelt emotion of betrayal here. And one of the things that is rumored about that situation, about Anne Boleyn, is that King Henry just said those things, or like, and this is just, I don't think they know for sure, but this is just, I think, you know, it's a rumor basically that he did that so he can marry his new wife or his wife after her, because obviously divorce wasn't allowed at that time. And that is something that you can definitely see very clearly in these cards. We have Persecution and Inquisition. We have the Caring Connections, and even the Martyr. The Martyr is about self-sacrifice. Sometimes even a martyr is someone that dies for a specific cause and things like that as well too. So I do believe that that is very significant to you in this past life. I do believe that some of you were actually had a past life as Anne Boleyn or something of that nature. Now, don't get me wrong, there are collectives, like for some of you, if you're wondering like, well, how can multiple people have the same life? That happens quite commonly. Like there's actually a lot of people that have had past life recollections of being the same person, just almost like in just almost like in their own version, like a little altered reality. It could be like, you know, something like that, like of that nature. Like I know someone who has a past life as Joan the Arc. And then I've heard of other people having the same past life as well too. And so if that's the case, this collective specifically has had a past life as Anne Boleyn, or like I said, as another role. Like it could have been a different culture, it could have been something, but it was a significant relationship where I do believe divorce was not allowed, because that was the message again that I was getting as I was shuffling your oracles, that divorce was not allowed, and that you were persecuted, and you were betrayed. And I was also sensing as well a lot of jealousy on you, like you had a lot of jealous eyes around you as well. And that could have been because you were you know, in a position where you married a king or something like that. And I'm not sure, but I want to say that Anne Boleyn was kind of known for her personality as well. I could be wrong, and I could be like meshing someone else with that as well too, but I feel as though that she was someone that, or at least you were, listen, we don't have to take the specifics of Anne Boleyn anymore, but I feel like you were someone that did have such a joyful presence about you. I feel like you had a lighthearted energy, and I feel like you almost came into this situation with some sort of innocence as well too. And the fact that you were extremely betrayed by someone that you thought really cared about you, or at least someone that you knew. And I think there was multiple people in on this, because I was sensing multiple jealous eyes, which that could have been that third party, or it could have been just the energy of like the people watching, because I think that back in those days there was also a lot of rumors, you know, spread around people in higher power, because there's always been some sort of tabloid, I feel, for anything too. Even if you look at like the Queen of England and things like that, like Princess Diana, all that stuff, they're very much in the tabloids, or there's a lot of rumors and speculations, or people almost just waiting, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think it's very unfair as well too, but it seems like there was at one point just people waiting for someone to mess up so they could just spread the news, make a lot of money, or cause a lot of drama or whatever. But that's kind of what I'm sensing for this pile. So this could be significant to your trust in your relationships these days. I feel as though you may be reincarnated with some of the same people that were around you at times as well too, like that jealousy energy, or maybe the person that was your person that you were married to, you know, that they could be reincarnated with you at this time as karmic connections. But I do believe that relationships and trust and so on and so forth is one of the biggest lessons here from this past life that may be affecting or just maybe in correlation to your present day life right now too. So if that's something that you've been kind of dealing with, is maybe you feel like you've been betrayed, you felt like you've had trust issues, or you feel as though one of the big things that could be for this pile as well too, especially with this persecution, is if you have just had this need, or this really deep emotion that comes up when someone accuses you of doing something that you didn't do. That could be in correlation to this reading as well too, and to this past life. I mean, I don't mean this reading, I mean this past life as well too. Because a lot of the times when you are persecuted for things that you don't do, or when you are persecuted and wrongfully accused, and obviously in this case, I feel as though for a lot of you it ended tragically, you know, and I think, yeah, because Inquisition a lot of the time means, you know, harshly or wrongfully persecuted. But anyways, I'm so sorry, I kind of lost track. That can come back in this life as like a very just deep wound, deep emotional response when someone tells you, you know, oh, well, you did this, and if you didn't do it, you may just have felt this need to prove yourself, you know. And even others may say, well, you don't have anything to prove to these other people, you know, you don't have to tell them anything if they don't believe you. And you may understand that, like you may understand that logic, but at the same time you don't know where this like emotion is coming from, you know, of like, well, I just feel like I have to prove myself. They need to know the truth. That could definitely be in a case like this as well too. But I was going to say something else too. But yeah, so I think for the most part, I feel like we're going to look into with the tarot, like the lessons, some of the lessons that you may need to learn or to be carried over. But I just feel as though, and the reason why I brought Joan, or I think Joan the Arc was a good example of that, is because they're unconscious things that we do. Like that person that I was talking about, she had what you would call like a witch's wound, which was like a fear of speaking her truth. And if you look back to that past life, Joan the Arc was persecuted for speaking her truth, you know. And so So things like that can really affect us, but almost in an unconscious, unknowing way. It's so crazy. But I feel like a lot of the relationships and the people that you surround yourself with in this lifetime, you know, I feel like one of the most important things is to make sure that they have your best interests at heart, to make sure that you can trust the people around you, and to make sure that you're treated and loved and valued just as equally as you treat the other people and love and value the other people. You know, you may be the type to see the good in everything and to see the good in other people, but I think one of the lessons here is to make sure that you're listening to your intuition about what other people's intentions are here for you. And that could be something that for some of you, it could have been a fear of relationships for a long time, or it could be the fact that you almost feel like it's repeated, like you know, you did go through these situations where you know, you were wrongfully accused, or that you know, these promises were broken as well. And I think with this ascension to move into your true self, it literally says rise above this, rise above the darkness, the light is here. I think in this lifetime right now, this present lifetime, it's obviously going to be better. I think you're going to have more connections, and I'm hearing that this is later in life. I'm not hearing any specific like dates or anything like that, but I'm hearing like as you progress, as you move on, you'll find the right people for you, and the right relationships and the trustworthy people will come as well too. And I think breaking free of any fears of this is something that you may have to deal with. Obviously, you know, cross that bridge when it gets there. But yeah. Oh my gosh, guys, I couldn't wait to freaking tell you. I was like thinking as I was doing the cards, I was like, oh, I hope this, because you know, sometimes messages like leave, but I was like, I hope I don't forget like what that download was, because it all made sense. But then all the cards, like, how could you forget? Like, it was literally like almost that story, which is so crazy. But let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper for you here with the tarot and see what else you may need to know about this specific past life here. All right, Spirit. So what are some, let's just do, what are some strengths and gifts that pile 2 has gotten from this past life here? What are some strengths and gifts that pile 2 has from this past life, please? So we have the 9 of Cups. I love that. Let's get one more. So what are some strengths and gifts? The King of Cups. Interesting. That's interesting. Okay. I feel like some of the strengths and gifts that you have gotten from this past life and from these experiences is the ability to overcome certain emotions within yourself. And I feel like because with this King of Cups, it's almost like you've mastered in that life, like you mastered the emotional aspects. And I think that had a lot to do with your position in that power position as well. And I think it had a lot to do with you just being a very strong a person. Like, I think that you held yourself together very well. And I think you still keep that same strength to this day, that you're able to really not let your desires like control you. And I feel like you're not, but I feel like you are able to at the same time, because we have the 9 of Cups. I feel like it's like you have this, it's like, I'm trying to put it into words. I'm so sorry. It's like, you know, you've been able to fulfill yourself on your own, and with this 9 of Cups as well too. And I think that's made you a lot stronger than I think you even realize. Like, it's hard to put this into words. Like I said, I'm so sorry. So basically, like with this King of Cups here, like what I'm thinking is like most other situations that would cause people to like just completely give in to like their emotional, whatever they're feeling emotionally, like whether that's fear or that, you know, anything. Like, you are just, like, you just got it. I don't know. It's so hard to explain. Let's see. Can you help me explain this? What are some strengths and gifts, like, with words here, please? Spirit, like, I don't know if you know what I'm saying. Like, basically, I feel like you just have yourself under control to a point where it's almost like amazing. Which I was not expecting something like that from this kind of past life as well, too. So I'm like, let's see. Can you explain this? Can you clarify this Nine of Cups here, please? Okay. So we have the Seven of Cups and we have the Page of Pentacles. So one of the best things, or one of the strengths that you have as well in this life, yeah, because we have the Five of Wands here. So one of the other things that you have here, strengths in this life, is that you're able to choose what it is that you want now. It's not going to get chosen for you. And so especially specifically where you feel like in this past life you felt like these choices were forced on you. Like, obviously the story that we were talking about, you know, this person, she didn't have control over what was said or what was done, and now it's like you're able to choose the people that you want around. You're able to choose what makes you happy here instead of it being chosen for you. Like, I don't even think that this person had the right to choose this marriage. Like, you know, you in this past life, I don't even think you had the right to choose what you, like who it was or anything like that. It was something like basically all of the control was in other people's hands, in the higher powers' hands. And I don't mean higher power as in like spirit. I mean like higher authority is hands and things like that. And so you didn't have the freedom to, you know, express yourself and to do what it is that you wanted. And now I think one of the strengths that you have now in this life, or the gifts that you have been gifted or given in this life, is to choose what it is that you feel makes you happy and to go within that and not have to stick around or be forced to do anything that you don't want to do. So that makes a lot of sense. And then we have the Page of Pentacles, which is like an extreme amount of growth, which is what I was feeling with this King of Cups. It's like, yeah, the amount of emotional maturity that you have is like ridiculous, even if you don't feel like that way, because I feel like with this Page of Pentacles, the amount of that you've developed either in this life in such a short amount of time because of this, because sometimes, you know, when we go through lessons in our past life, like we do actually end up like developing really fast at times as well too. But yeah, it's like you've overcome so much and now you have this like strength that would like, and I think that's one of the things that I was trying to put into words, the way that I couldn't, that it was almost like, it was literally almost like it would break a lot of people's spirit, and it won't break yours, or it hasn't broken yours, and now you have this unwaverable, like resilient freaking spirit, and it shows. And you know, the comic, it can show that as well too. Like, no matter what, like you still, you're a survivor. You were a survivor, even though you may not have survived literally, but like, I just want to give you props. Like, that's the thing, and that's why it was so hard to explain, because I'm like feeling these emotions and I'm trying to do it, and I'm like, dang, like I'm literally like feeling like a little tiny bit of this, and I can't even talk. I can't even King of Cups right now. Like, I can't even get it together. Like, you have this ability to like just hold yourself together through anything, and I think that's amazing. So okay, now let's take a look and see. Let's just put these here. Now let's take a look and see what are some challenges or lessons that you still may be dealing with from this life in this present life for you. Dealing with from this life in this life. Okay, so the first card we have is the Devil. And I do believe for some of you this is in regards to those relationships. I feel like this is maybe, well, let's dig a little bit more. So what can you tell me more about this before I keep talking, because I don't want to have that happen again where where it's like I can't explain it. So tell me more about these lessons as well too. not letting relationships control you as well too. Yeah, we have the Emperor, and that's crazy. It's like you're your own king, you're your own emperor here, and this is about you taking back control of your life and not letting relationships and people around you control you. If you had felt before very restricted in your relationships, maybe you had really jealous partners, maybe you had a family that didn't let you do a lot of things, a lot of relationships and a lot of people have tried to control you in this life. That is in ties to the karmic imbalance I feel from this past life. And so what I think you're meant to do in this life is to break free from any of those restrictions, even if those restrictions come from yourself. You know, if you feel like you owe somebody something, or you have to stay, or you have to do this, I think one of your biggest life lessons here is to really break free from this and to regain this personal power and regain this sense of control for yourself in your life, as in, like, you know, no one else is going to tell you what to do or who you're going to be or anything like that. Like, it's up to you this time. And I think that's really beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at the bottom of the deck. We have the Magician as well too. Yeah, this could be about you, like, you know, being the leader of your own life and your manifestations and things like that as well too. But I'm feeling mostly this is personal power, overcoming toxic relationships, toxic situations, and anything that has made you feel restricted, anything that has made you feel stuck, or anything that has made you feel less than, or even, like, you know, anything that has made you feel persecuted. Like, if you feel like, you know, you're always being antagonized by certain individuals or past individuals, you feel like you're antagonized by them, like, and like no matter what you say or do, it's like you can never be right or anything like that. This is in regards to this, and you're on the right track is what I'm hearing. Like, you are going to be breaking free of these, or you have been breaking free of these and stuff like that. It's just, maybe for some of you, this is also just clarification for, like, why maybe you've been going through those things as well. And I think that this is a very empowering energy that you are stepping into, or that you have stepped into. And I think that it's very liberating, as well as you're bringing a certain balance back into this karmic cycle, which is really going to, because especially if you were wronged in this past life, for sure, I feel like, you know, you're going to come into this life and be able to receive what it is you felt was owed to you. So that could, like I said, it could have just been freedom to choose, like how we were looking at over here as well too, and not letting people play you, and not letting jealous people bring you down anymore as well. Okay. I think we almost answered all of the questions here. Let's see, anything else here for pile 2 about this situation? We have the Magician coming out. And then look, we have Justice, Justice is the karmic balancer. This is the karmic card, and it is about things coming back into balance as well too. And I feel like justice for you for this past life as well too. Like, I feel like you are owed this justice, and I think this justice is going to come to you in also many different ways, shapes and forms and feelings. But for the most part, this is your life for you to do whatever it is that you want to do. And I feel like one of the biggest things, like we said, is you're not going to let anyone tell you you can't. You're not going to let anyone hold you back. And this is such a powerful lifetime for you, pile 2. And I think I'm very excited for you, because I think that this past life has actually subconsciously affected you a lot more than you actually knew at one point in time, whether that was when you're young or even up until now, you know, whatever the case is. But I do believe that justice will be served for you. And then we have the Ace of Cups at the bottom too. I love that for you. So yeah, I love, oh my gosh, we love a freaking justice card in past life readings and karmic situations. We love the justice card to come out. especially upright, you know, that means that things are coming back into balance, and that eventually when they do come back into balance, you will be able to have this peace and you will be able to have this freedom. And I feel like you definitely are overcoming these challenges, especially with that King of Cups. I feel like you're overcoming these challenges a lot better than you probably even give yourself credit for as well too. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave this reading here for you. Thank you so much if you stayed till the end. I am so honored to read for you, my beautiful Anne Boleyns, my queens and kings, or whoever. You know, this could have even been like a different, like it could have been like the same kind of situation, but in a different culture as well too, if that resonates too. It doesn't even have to be like that specific situation, but I do believe that story is very, very much significant to this past life of yours and what has happened. So just take what you feel resonates for you, and just know that I love you, and I can't wait to read for you guys in the next one. Oh, don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And thank you to anyone who supports this channel in any way. Thank you so much. It really means so much to me. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next pick a card. Bye. Hi, Pile 3, and welcome to your reading. If you chose the Moss Agate Star, or if you chose the Ascension Tarot, either way, welcome. This is your reading. So today we are looking at who you were in this specific past life and how is it affecting or significant to your present life. So let's go ahead and get into the oracles are going to show us basically just that, who you were, and a little bit about yourself and about maybe your circumstances as well. Then we're going to be using the tarot to get a little bit deeper and ask more meaningful questions or get a little bit more insight into anything that we're kind of wondering or questioning here. So let's go ahead and get started. The first card we have for you is the Orphan. The next card we have for you is Medicine Man or Woman. The next card we have coming out for you is Phobias. The next card we have is Woman Holding a Heart, number 44. Oh, and this is number 5 as well, for those of you that like to know the numbers. The next card we have for you is Faith, Humanity, and Benevolence. Stay calm, trust the good in yourself and others, and see the light in the world. And then the last card we have for you is Guide, with the light attribute represents the nature of the divine in life and in yourself. And the shadow attribute places financial gain and control over imparting spiritual insights. This is a very beautiful energy. I feel as though you had very strong spiritual gifts in this life, Pile 3, that I think that you have carried over to this life. Or I'm hearing for some of you, one of the lessons that you may be learning in this life from this past life is tapping into those spiritual gifts and tapping into that wisdom, because especially that we have Women Holding a Heart, all of those things that you learned within this life and all of those gifts that you had are still carried with you through your, usually through your heart as well, because I feel for a lot of us, our heart holds so much wisdom. But okay, let's talk about the life that I feel this life kind of was for you. So I do feel, even though we have, this Medicine Man and Woman, it kind of looks like it, an indigenous type of energy. For some of you that could be the case, but I'm getting a message here that this was in almost ancient or biblical times that you were alive in this life. And I feel as though you had some sort of community, that people that you lived with, that could also be indication of a tribe as well. But I feel like it was almost like it was a group of people, that you were surrounded with. That could be some of your soul family as well that is in this life here. But one of the biggest lessons, or I guess you would say challenges, that you went through is that I feel as though you were orphaned. Like with this orphan here, it could have been that your parents had passed away when you were younger, but I feel as though you were and felt very abandoned in your childhood. I feel as though this is an energy of a very, very rough start, very rough childhood, very confused. And I think you did have a lot of challenges, you know, in your upbringing as well. So one of the biggest things that I think happened from this is that you developed a distrust for other people, for the people around you, and maybe some sort of outlook on humanity as well. Now, I do feel in this life you did overcome that, because I think one of the main things that you brought to the table in this life was your spiritual gifts. And I feel as though you helped a lot of people, and I feel you helped them selflessly. I feel as though I think you were misunderstood amongst these people, but you were still revered. Like, you were still thought very highly of, and you had these spiritual gifts that were very healing. Whether it literally was a medicine, you know, a medicine man or woman, I think you had spiritual gifts that were very holy. And I'm almost getting the message here, because of the message before, that this was around like biblical times. I do believe that there was a group of people that awakened spiritually within that time as well too. Not obviously like how it is now, how we're seeing like mass awakenings and there's so many people waking up, but I do believe that there were a specific amount of divine individuals alongside, you know, Jesus and his disciples and things like that, that were awaken, and especially in the heart area, in the unconditional love area as well. And I feel like you were definitely one of those people, and I feel like you brought a lot of light and a lot of love to the surrounding areas that you were, you know, involved with. But I do think that did kind of cause you to be a little bit misunderstood, as well as develop certain, like it says, fears and phobias of other people. And I think that's because, you know, you had to see that not everyone had the best intentions for you, and I think you saw that as a child a lot. And so one of your biggest lessons was to kind of grow up and heal from that, and shed that, and, you know, and restore your faith in humanity and all of those things, which I do feel, if I can be quite honest, pile 3, I feel as though you accomplished a lot of what you were meant to accomplish in this life, and compared to the other piles, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that, you know, it's all perfect and everything like that, but I do believe I'm sensing that there is a very spiritually advanced energy here, and I think that has a lot to do with who you were there and like how awakened you were. Like, you were quite literally a very spiritual being and you had a lot of divine insights, is what I'm hearing as well too. And I feel for some of you, this phobias as well could have crossed over in this lifetime, but that's a specific message if you know that you have specific phobias. Like, if you, and they have, obviously, and I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm scared of bugs, or I'm scared of, I mean, bugs could actually be a phobia too, but I'm feeling this is more on the severe level. Like, you just have certain things that you cannot touch, you can't be around, they irritate you or they scare you, whatever the case is. Those could be indications of these fears in your past life, and also it could be indications of trauma from your past life, and that's crossing over to these phobias here now. Like, an example of that is somebody, let's say somebody who was strangled in a past life, okay? And then for some reason in this life, you just hate the feeling of things around your neck. You can't wear collars, or ties, or tight necklaces or things like that. Like, one of the biggest things that just gives you the most disgusting ick is just having something tied around your neck. That can actually be an indication of, you know, a past life, you know, being strangled or being hung or things like that. Same thing with like fire. If you, you know, died by fire in a past life, you know, you would be very fearful of fires. Oh, and I'm hearing spirit might say, and in some cases that may also come through as like a, like, what are they called? Like a pyro. So that's interesting too. But I feel as though since it's phobias coming out for you, this would be indication of things that you want to stay away from, and that you may not have actually understood why. But yeah, you are very much in touch with your intuition, and I feel as though you are very, very close to spirit. And like I said, I think that you are here on a mission to help people, and also to I think you were on a double mission here. I think you had your own life lessons as well too, and I think you did have, you know, certain things in this life to grow from, but I think one of the biggest things that you were here was actually to just spread light in this world and to heal and to help. And I think you were almost here in a very dark time for that exact reason, which I think brought you a lot of challenges. It made you very misunderstood, as well as the fact that, you know, you may have been very abandoned and had this rough childhood. You felt like you didn't have a lot of people to lean on. This could be something that carrying over in this life as well too. You know, maybe you feel as though you don't have many people you can trust, or maybe you felt like this need to be ridiculously independent your entire life, and that's a sign of what we're talking about here. But I really want to talk about your spiritual gifts. I feel like you have these gifts that you are meant to be using in this life here as well too. So I wanted to see with the tarot, I want to see what these gifts kind of are, or like, or just maybe just whatever messages want to come out. And then I want to see what are some lessons here that you still may be learning here as well too. But I think one of the biggest things you learned here was to open your heart again, and was to allow, you know, yourself to express your gifts, because these gifts came from a place of love. These gifts came from a place of selflessness and helping people without expecting anything in return. So someone who was actually very hurt, you know, in their childhood, that would be a very hard challenge. You know, sometimes people turn cold, and sometimes people think like, oh, well, you have to give me something in order for me to give you something. You know, that kind of mindset. And this is something that I think you were destined to overcome as well, and to really just be a beacon of light for your community, and it's like almost like, I want to say, and I please don't take offense to this at all, but I feel as though the fact that you were misunderstood, you know how there's like, and we see like in stories, or like a lot of time even on like TV and stuff, there's like, or I guess on the internet too is where you would see it, but there's like, they say, you know, oh, that's the witch in the woods, or that's the old medicine person over there, but like they're kind of like out there, but also people go to them and respect them at the same time, you know? Like you could have been very isolated at that point too, which could have made you feel very lonely, because I do believe that obviously with this woman holding a heart, you know, you had a huge heart and you have a lot of love to give. But I think because of all the things that have happened, you know, I feel, okay, so I'm getting a message here from Spirit that in the beginning of this life, like we were talking about before, your childhood and upbringing and things like that was very challenging. But the more you were able to shed those beliefs, and the more you were able to open up to your true self, is when you had a lot of blessings come in for you too. Okay, so that makes more sense too. It wasn't all just like doom and gloom. I think it was more or less like it was more or less like, it kind of seems like how a lot of people are, like what a lot of people are kind of going through right now, like really tough early stages of life. And then we've been seeing patterns of like, you know, people waking up and then having to unlearn all of those things, because they realize that that's not the truth here, that the truth lies within your heart. But yeah, so to sum up like who you were, I would say a very spiritual person, definitely a guide to the people around you, a healer for sure. And like I said, a lot of those gifts are trying to come through to you now, or are coming through to you now for those that know you have very, very much spiritual gifts. But let's go ahead and see what the tarot know. Oh, and I do want to say too, another message that came through with this pile is that you were just so, regardless of everything, like you were such an innocent soul. Like you have such an innocent, loving heart here that it's so beautiful. And back then, I think it was extremely, extremely rare for that. So, okay. So what can you tell us about this spiritual gifts, Spirit, that, oops, I didn't even shuffle these. What can you tell us about these spiritual gifts, Spirit, that pile 3 is bringing into this lifetime with them? Obviously, we're going to stick to specifically the ones that you have in this lifetime. So what are some of these spiritual gifts from this life that pile 3 is... Pile 3 has, I guess you would say. Pile 3 has. Okay, so the first card we have is the Ten of Wands. And even with this imagery, I'm feeling like immense strength here as well too, to overcome. Because if you look at this image, this person has a bunch of, I believe that's selenite, but they have a bunch of selenite and they're literally at the finish line. So I feel like one of the gifts that you brought here was the wisdom and the strength to overcome any obstacles and to really, like, anything that you didn't complete or anything that your soul wanted you to experience or wanted you to learn, like, this is it. I feel like you're like crossing that finish line almost. And I'm not saying, hi, pile 3. So my, video cut out again, so sorry. I only got one more card, and I don't have it to where I can see it, so I was like talking and I didn't even realize. So hopefully you didn't miss too much. The last thing I saw on there was, and I'm sorry, this has kind of been happening a lot lately, and I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get it fixed. I'm just please bear with me. It's technical difficulties, I guess you would say. But oh yeah, so what's crazy too is the other card that came out was Transcendence in this deck, which is the number 21, which is the number of the world, which is again another completion. That's kind of like what we were talking about with this Ten of Wands. Like, you're right there at the finish line, and Transcendence is usually, you know, rising above and like going beyond and all of those beautiful things as well too. And I feel like this is a lot to do with your spiritual gifts, as well as like you being in touch with spirit and getting divine insight as well too. I feel like you're able to transcend the normal like 3D human experience. And I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to feed into that where like where I'm saying like, oh, you're going to transcend and you're going to go somewhere else and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you chose to reincarnate here. You're going to be in the 3D on earth like everyone else. But I do believe this is about you opening up again to divine insights and divine wisdom, kind of like higher knowledge, higher perspective. But on the other hand as well too, what's really crazy is that we have Justice at the bottom, because I don't know if it got on video as well too, but one of the things I was saying, because the world represents a completion, this is like a completion, and then we have Justice. And what I was saying before these cards even came out was that I feel as though one of the best gifts that you are giving to yourself and you gave to yourself in this last lifetime was the amount of things and challenges that you have transcended. So basically you bringing yourself this karmic balance here in this lifetime, to where you're going to get to choose if you would like to reincarnate, you know, in the next life, but that would be your choice. Because I feel as though once everything comes back into balance here, there's no need for you to like have to, or, you know, there's no other like imbalances here. Like, you have succeeded in all of the things in this lifetime. You have succeeded in all of the things that your soul wanted you to do here, and I feel like you've passed almost with flying colors. And so I'm actually really proud of you. And I'm not saying that these lives are like tests or anything like that, but I do believe we do come here to learn. And one of the things that I find very interesting as well is that some people tend to, because, you know, earth can be very difficult, because we forget a lot of the things that we already know. Like, we forget who we are, you know, and all of these things. When we come here, it can be easy to get lost. And I think what sometimes happens to people is they get stuck on this wheel of karma because they get lost, and then they create an imbalance. And so everything, I feel, has to come back to some sort of balance, or every debt has to be repaid in some way, shape, or form. It's just a belief of mine, but I'm no way in any way trying to convince you, you know, or if you have certain beliefs, just go with that as well too. But from what my point of view and from what I'm saying here is that you basically completed, like, in this lifetime, you're completing your like destiny, or you're completing whatever it is, your karmic path, or whatever it is that you came here to accomplish. And I think a lot of that was a lot of the work and lessons that you learned within this past life, which is really cool. And I'm not saying that this life has been a breeze for you as well too, because sometimes from what I've seen as well too, is that sometimes even though we pass like certain lessons, they still show up in our life now. But I think it maybe on a subconscious level, it just might be easier. It really depends on the person, to be honest. That's why I don't like to get too specific. But yeah, there's a completion here and a lot of wisdom, because with the World card as well too, sometimes that can be also like a higher perspective. So one of the gifts that you came here with is just an inner knowing, a higher perspective of just like, you just know things on a soul level as well too. It's very interesting. But let's see, what are some, and then I love that we have the, yeah, like I said, the justice, like that karmic balance coming back. But what are some lessons that you may still be, because this life isn't over, and it's always something. I feel like with the transcendence coming through too as well, like as long as you're here, you're always going to be learning something, and you're, you know, we are in fact like eternal, not internal. Well, we're internal too, but eternal students. And with that being said, I feel like you're just doing more, I feel like, than you even had to. But in a good way, not in like an exhausting way. So what are some other lessons from this life that pile 3 either had to learn or is learning? Okay, so we have the 10 of Pentacles. Let's get one more. What are some other lessons? We have the 2 of Pentacles. We also have the Soul. We have Death, and we have the King of Crystals, which is interesting. Bottom of the deck, we have the 10 of Swords, which does represent endings of karmic lessons here as well too, the 10 of Swords. I do believe that, you know, one of the biggest things that you're doing and for yourself, at least from this point on, is creating a life that you know that you're going to want to live. I feel like this is a successful life for you, and I feel like this is something that you are gonna leave, like it's I feel like it's a generational thing as well too. Like with this 10 of Crystals, I think one of the biggest lessons has a lot to do with generational karma that you're kind of coming through and clearing, especially is what I'm hearing here too. And I think with this 2 of Pentacles as well too, of course, this is like that balance as well. But I feel as though this is about you juggling that. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's like, I feel like this is about you, like, completing that, doing that, but also getting to do whatever the hell you want to do. I feel like there's also, like, you're at a point too, like, where you've cleared so much, like we kind of saw that it is clear, and now it's like you just get to choose, or you get to start over, you get to do whatever it is that you want to do, you know, and go wherever you want to go, like build whatever you want to build. And I think that in hindsight, this is something for a lot of you, or somewhere, I guess I should say, for a lot of you, that you're already kind of starting. I think it's like you've been through enough, and now it's like you get to do whatever it is that you want to do. We also have Death, and we have the, oh, this is the Knight of Crystals. I thought it was the King of Crystals. For some of you, you're working on some sort of security as well too, like you're building foundations for yourself that are going to be very helpful and later, and that could be any time, but just like, you know, you're building something that is going to be very stable. This could be manifestations, this could just be a life for yourself. Like, I feel like with this 10 of Pentacles as well too, especially from this past life, you coming through as the orphan, I feel like one of the biggest things that you get to do in this life is build, like, whether that's a family or it's just a life where you feel at home at, and you feel very safe, and you feel like you are supported regardless. And so it's, if that's something that you have never felt, that may be something that you're going to be building yourself as well too, which could be good for, you know, your future generations, or even if you don't want to have future generations, it's just something you're here to do as well too. But yeah, we have a lot of transformative energy as well too, and I love that with this Death card. You know, it's almost like you're walking through, like, if you have been through hard times lately, especially with this 10 of Swords, I feel like this is because we have the Death and we have the Fool, which is, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum. This is like a new beginning, and it's the Soul, it's like a rebirth, and it actually looks like the same, like, surroundings that this person in the Death card is walking through, like that entrance, that portal. It looks like this is the other side. And then look, we also have the World, and we have the Owl here as well too. So this is like you following your intuition, which is something that you've been doing. I feel like you've transformed, or you've gone through so many challenges, whether that's in this past life or this life, that I think you're going to be liberated now. And like I said, I feel like almost it's if like you've learned, you've transcended with this world right here showing up again too. And now you're going to be at the point where it's like you've cleared this karma, you've cleared everything, and now it's like, all right, you decide what you want to do now. You don't have like the circumstances weighing on you, or you almost be a lot more free, and you get to create almost like for some of you, if you've heard of like like life path numbers and destiny numbers. I can't remember what they're called now, but there are numbers that you calculate for certain areas of your life, and like they'll tell you, like it'll be like from age something to like 25, and then the next one will be from like something to 50, or you know what I'm saying. And I don't know if that's the exact one, so sorry if it's like wrong. I haven't read mine in a really long time. It's been a few years, so I'm just kind of going off of old memories, and that's not really the best thing at times. But anyways, my point to this is though, there is a time, and there's a section where like in a certain period of your life, or I think they're actually like 4 years, it's like 4 to 8 years, something like that. Just maybe I'll be able to explain it more like another time, or maybe I'll put something in the description box for it, but don't quote me on that, or don't hold me to that either. Anyways, but basically you have this aspect of your life, and the number is kind of like shows like how it's going to be, what your lesson is, and things like that. But the option you can have, and I know that I have one of them as well too, or maybe even a couple in my lifetime, is like I have like a 0, and that means that it's like, okay, you don't have any like karma or expectations like of like what you're supposed to do, so it's like you get to choose. But also at the same time, for some people that can be just as difficult at the same time too, because like if you don't know what to do, then you don't know what to do. But I feel as though this is a energy of a pile that you will know what you want to do by then, and you'll feel a lot lighter, and you'll feel a lot freer. It's like I feel as you definitely overcame and completed a lot of your soul's mission, and now it's like it's time for you to just live whatever life that you feel like you want to live. If you feel like, following these spiritual gifts, you can do that. And I think a lot of you actually are probably going to do that, if I could be quite honest. But it's like also if you feel like, just building an income and being comfortable with this 10 of Pentacles, I feel like you can do that too. And I love in this imagery as well too, it looks more or less like a choice as well. It's like, okay, we have this one or this one, like you decide. And we have a beautiful hummingbird coming through here as well too, and also we have a vulture, and we have a butterfly. We have a lot of butterfly energies, and then we have owls, if any of those are significant here for you. We had an owl here too with the light, which is all about you following your wisdom as well too. And I think this energy here is, you guys are, maybe for some of you, you may consider or have resonated with the starseed kind of information, but I do feel like there's a lot of galactic energy behind you, if that's something that you feel. Oh, you know what, this is a very galactic-y deck, and you did choose a star too. Yeah, I do feel very strongly you guys have a lot of galactic support, galactic energy, whatever that means to you. I'll leave that up to you, but you have a very strong intuition, to say the least, and it's led you to this point, which is amazing. And that's why you were this guide in this past life as well too, because this is a person who's sitting there with their light and their owl, and they're showing people how to, how to transcend these obstacles that, you went through, and I feel like one of the biggest things that you did was you showed people that, they're lovable, that, love is the way as well too. And I think that's really beautiful. I do feel like you were very wise beyond your years, and I think that's something that you may still feel now, or maybe people have always told you, oh, you seem like an old soul, or oh, you're so wise, or you know what I'm saying, or you were meant to be in a different time, or something like that. These are all kind of indications of this energy coming through as well too. And it's not wrong. You are wise, and you are an old soul. And and I do feel called though, even though I just butchered the explanation of it. I was like, oh, it's 25 years, and then I was like, oh, it's 4. Please, if you do feel called, look into your numerology information. So there's a whole lot beyond just your life path number, if that's something you're interested in. I do believe that can show you a lot about this life too. I know a lot of the times it is very validating, and it's really trippy, but there's like different websites. Just look at, I would just start with Google numerology. I wouldn't say to like pay a bunch of money for some stuff, but I know that there's a couple reports online that you can get that are like cheap and very accurate. That's how I started doing it as well too. But I think that there's some information for this pile here on that, and maybe what it is that you felt you need to do or have been doing, just anything. But yeah, I think I'm actually going to leave this reading here. Thank you so much if you stayed till the end. I really hope it helped or you got something out of it, to say the least. And thank you to anyone who supports this channel in any way. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much. Love you. And I can't wait to read for you guys the next pick a card. Bye. Hi Pile 4, and welcome to your reading. If you chose the Black Obsidian Tower with the golden drawings on there, or if you chose the Wild Unknown Tarot, either way, welcome. So today we are asking, who were you in a specific past life, and how is it affecting your current life, or why is it affecting your current life, or why is it coming up? What is the reason here? So first things first, we are going to look at these pre-pulled oracles, which tell us just that, who you were in this life, maybe a little bit about what was going on, just as much information as possible, I guess you would say, in this. And then we're going to be using the tarot to dig a little bit deeper, to ask more specific questions, to see what's going on in this life, you know, and that's connected to this one. Like, what are some lessons, what are some gifts, some blessings, and you know, that kind of stuff. But we'll see when we get there what the questions are really going to be. So let's go ahead then and just get straight to it. So let's see who you were in this past life. So you have 2 of these cards and everyone else only got 1, so that's pretty cool, but I'm going to try to find space for it the best I can, so please bear with me. So the first card we have is Agape. I think I can put them like this. The next card we have is the Forest. The next card we have is Persecution and Inquisition. Then we have Spirituality and Religion. Oh, this, what is that? Sorry, it's a little fuzzball. This'll work. Let me see. Yeah, that works. Okay. Okay, so the next card we have is the Rescuer, and the light attributes are provide strength and support to others in crisis, acts out of love with no expectation or reward, or expectation of reward. And these shadow attributes are assumes that the rescued will reciprocate, keeps the rescued one needy. Interesting. All right, the next one we have is the Holy Spirit. Expect miracles. Remember that only love is real. Miracles will occur naturally. Spirit has your back. This is my favorite card out of this whole deck, by the way. It's the Holy Spirit one. Holy Spirit, activate. Holy Spirit. Do you guys know what that's from? All right, and the last card we have here for you is the Journey, the number 2. Okay, so you had a very interesting past life, to say the least. I feel as though there's some interesting facts. I feel you were mostly some sort of like hermit in this life, but not a hermit that didn't socialize or didn't talk to anyone, because one of your inner duties or your inner callings was definitely to talk to people and share your wisdom and share your knowledge of spirituality. I feel like you were a traveler for sure in this life, and you traveled wherever you felt called or wherever you needed to go to speak on in your eyes on God's behalf. I feel like your biggest mission was to spread the word of God and to try to help people to find the light, to find God, and all of these things Now, I do believe, though, it was a little different than what we normally think of, like people going door to door, or like even spreading the word of the Bible here. I think you had a lot of inner wisdom and your own take on your spirituality, and I think it may have coincided with other people. And I think one of the biggest other peoples that gave you a lot of challenges was, ironically, the church. And I think you were persecuted by the church, by whether they were trying to condemn you, to silence you. And I don't believe that you died because of this in this life, but it could be different for every single person. But I do believe you kind of had to go into hiding for a bit of your life. And so maybe one of the lessons coming through into this life for you is that you have, your own spiritual beliefs, and maybe the people surrounding you that you have been surrounded by don't have the same kind of beliefs. Like, for an example, like maybe you had a family that you grew up very much in the church, but you're more drawn to, like, tarot, or you're more drawn to like occult practices, or your own kind of spirituality, like that comes from straight within you. And maybe you don't really agree with a lot of things, from like religion and from the church and things like that. So that could have been a challenging aspect to kind of cross over as well too. But I do believe, Agape is here to say that you followed your heart for unconditional love. Like, you are 100% devoted in this life to God and to letting people see, the love that God has for them and all of these things. And I'm saying God, I feel like I'm saying God more than I ever say God, because I think that's what you called it in this life. But whether it's spirit, it's the Holy Spirit here, or it's whoever it is to you, you know what I'm saying? But this is something that you were, like I said, very much devoted to the point where even if it got you, accused or in trouble, like you still held strong to your beliefs no matter what. And I think that one of the things that the forest can talk about is finding your own way and also getting a little bit lost. But I think one of the main things that I'm remembering, I believe, from the forest is that it can also be called the pathless path. Because when you enter in a forest, it's not like it's, you get from point A to point B. A lot of times people do get lost and stuff. And I think this was about you finding your own way. Like, I don't think that you were born and you were like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Like, this was something that was calling you inside your heart to answer to. And this is something that you felt it was almost a duty for you to do, where you sacrificed your regular life. Like, most people would probably live in their regular lives, with their families and doing things like this. And you were the one that was like, no, I need to do this. This was the calling, that you felt for you. So I feel as though if you do feel like you have a very strong calling towards spirituality, or towards being some sort of teacher or mentor, or even some kind of shamanism in any type of way here, this is definitely in regards to this life here. This is such a spiritual energy. Obviously, I mean, we have the Holy Spirit, we have spirituality, and we have, and things like that. It's such a spiritual energy, and this doesn't mean that it was only in this life. I feel like this is you this life is coming, or this reading is coming to you to say, hey, remember, this is what it's about. It's about helping others selflessly. It's about showing others the divinity within themselves. Now, I'm not saying in this life you're gonna go on a journey like this one and just give up all your possessions and just be a traveler to spread the word. I think that was something that was obviously in these times like that you were doing then. But now I feel like maybe, if you felt like you should have a social media platform, or if you have a business or things like that, or maybe even if you just feel called to, like, psychically to, talk to certain people, whatever the case is. Not like those, do not go in people's inboxes and say, oh, I felt so drawn to your energy, because that is a scam, and that's what scam people do. So do not do that. But you kind of get what I'm saying here. I think for the most part it would be like you have a platform. I don't think that I think in this life, instead of you going and finding them, I think you just maybe put yourself out there and they find you, if that makes sense. It's going to be easier. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like, there was something that was so rewarding to you through all of this that most people did not understand or could not see. And I feel as though you had this inner drive, this inner following in your heart that you just knew that you were meant to do this. And I think it caused you to be very misunderstood, and I think it caused you to feel very lonely at times. But I think the reward that you felt in your heart for doing your soul's purpose or your soul's mission outweighed that, because this is something that you definitely came here that in this life that you were meant to do. Now, again, I don't know if I spoke too much on it, but I think another message with this persecution as well too is that if you feel scared to share your gifts, or if you feel scared to share your knowledge and your wisdom at times, or you're just in general, it doesn't even have to be about this, like it doesn't have to be about spirituality or anything like that. Maybe sometimes you feel a little reluctant to just share your opinion because you don't like the way it feels when people kind of give you some sort of backlash for it, or they go against it, or they judge you for it. That could be in regards to this as well too. But I think one of the main messages here is to really follow your heart and to see where it leads you, because you had an undying amount of faith and trust in spirit, in God, in this lifetime, to the point where you literally gave up everything for it to spread, just, you know. And I think one of the biggest things that could be crossing over from this life from that as well too is that undying faith in your life path and trusting where you're led, instead of knowing every detail or what's going to come next and things like that. That could be something that you're facing as well too, because obviously if you had the strength and the courage to do it in this life, you could do it, in this life, you could do it in this life, like the one that you're in now as well too. And also I feel like you did enjoy the freedom of not being tied down to one place, one community, one area as well too. And I think you traveled to different, like I almost want to say villages, or you traveled to different areas, and I think you stayed there as long as you were needed. And then when you felt like either you were needed, or maybe when the persecution came as well too, you know, I think is when you kind of packed up and moved on to the next okay, that makes perfect sense, the next town or the next village or whatever. So I got a message from spirit as well too, that one of the lessons that has brought you or is bringing you is to learn to let go and not be too attached to one place, or not be so attached to one aspect of your life. I feel like you are someone that it transforms and develops at different rates, different speeds, and maybe just different. You may just have always thought that you were a little bit different than everyone else. And so I think you're supposed to release the attachments of just being one way, being stuck in one place, and things like that as well too. So, and that may not be literally moving, it's just like, you know, releasing these attachments to wherever you're at, and you know, just go where you're led here. Very interesting stuff though. So with you, I want to ask specific questions here too. So what were some of the main lessons that pile 4 learned in this life? What were some of the main lessons that pile 4 learned in this life? Okay, so the first card we have is the Tower, and that is definitely to embrace change. I think one of the biggest lessons that you learned in this life is definitely impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. And I think that could have started you, maybe the dramatic shifts you had in this life could have actually helped you, you know, with the impermanence of like life and death and type of situations. Like, you know, you're like, well, this life is impermanent, I'm not going to be here forever as well. But yeah, this is definitely to embrace changes, and when things start to go south, you know, to release all of those, and kind of like we were just talking about, like when things start to get bad, you know, one of the biggest things you learned was to not hold on to it. Like, let that tower come through, let that lightning bolt come down and burn through all of the things that needs to. Like, I feel like you were like so detached in a good way. But I do believe that it wasn't easy at first. I do believe this is something that you had to learn, and I do believe this is coming through, because this is something that you're most likely experiencing in this life as well too, to learn to just let things leave when they're meant to leave, or crumble when they're meant to crumble. Because I do believe as well, one of the biggest lessons in this life this lifetime for you, I'm talking about the past lifetime for you, is that you didn't know that you were meant to be this person. You didn't know that you were going to do these things. So letting go of the attachments of maybe that normal life or that life that you had before, and choosing to be different and choosing to move away, whether that's from your family or your community or the people that you knew, in order to, you know, live out this soul's purpose that you felt destined to live out. That was probably something that was very hard for you, you know, to be able to accept as well too. But again, it was like this calling was louder than that. And the reward, I felt like you felt almost like there was nothing for you anymore where you were at, and that, you know, you needed more, or you were looking for more. And I think you found a lot of that answers within yourself. Yeah, look, we have the Eight of Cups. That is definitely learning to let go, walk away when you're not needed anymore. What are some challenges from this life that Pile 4 is facing now? We have the High Priestess. Wow, so you do have some sort of powerful inner calling right now, Pile 4, that your intuition is really trying to get you to. The High Priestess is also someone who is kind of like the Hermit in the way that they find their answers within. So the High Priestess could definitely be a calling as well to kind of quiet down and to really search for your answers within and not the outer. But I do believe that this is saying that, you know, that intuition, that calling that you were listening to before here, that was obviously very like extreme, it seems in this case. It doesn't have to be as extreme, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of our past lives, as we develop, I feel like they seem to be a lot more extreme, or they're different times. And then once we learn and grow, like you've already experienced this is something that it's not going to be as bad, I think, as well. Like sometimes it's the same thing, but easier was something that I've kind of noticed. But nonetheless, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not trying to diminish any challenges or anything like that. But what I do believe is this High Priestess is saying, like, hey, you have this inner calling. You've answered it before, and you've done what you had to do, and we're asking you to do it again. And we're, as in spirit, the all. You know, we're asking you to do it again, and we're asking you to please listen to us and follow that voice and follow that heart, because this is something that's meant for you here in this lifetime as well too. And it could be something completely different than this, but and I think for a lot of you, you'll know what it is, or you know what it is, or maybe you will know what it is when, you know, further down the line as well too. Maybe you're going through a time of release and really trying to find your purpose and find yourself. I know that happened to me. It's happened to me multiple times, but there's one big significant one that I recall that really showed me, you know, that all of the things in the past, like, I had to let go of, and that wasn't meant for me, and I'm actually going in a completely different route or direction, you know, than I thought I would ever be in. And so I'm here to say that that's possible. You may not even know yet, you know. What are some gifts that dang. So we have the Five of Cups. I didn't even get to finish what I was saying. I was saying, what are some gifts that you have brought in from this past life? Some strengths, I guess you would say. So we have the Five of Cups. We have the Six of Pentacles. And we have Temperance. Yeah, you're very balanced emotionally, I feel as though. And I think that one of the gifts with this Six of Pentacles here that you brought in from this life is being able to... Okay, so I'm hearing it's your beautiful generosity. I feel as though that you just have a very generous spirit, a generous heart, and doesn't even have to be financially as well too. But I feel like you have, like, you have this inner voice or this inner calling that you really just like to give back to humanity in any way, shape, or form. And even if that doesn't sound like, if you're like, that doesn't sound like me, I feel like if you were to ask your heart, you know, if you like being of service to yourself and others, I feel as though in your heart you would say yes. Okay, we also have Temperance as well as the Five of Cups. So I think one of the gifts that you brought with you in here, one of the strengths, is that, of course, to be able to overcome loss with this Five of Cups. And I feel like you kind of, a lot of the loss that you were meant to overcome, I think the the hardest part, or maybe the most severe part, you've kind of overcome already. So if, I'm not saying that you're never going to go through loss or anything like that, but I do believe that you're able to overcome it a lot better than most people would ever, because of this. It's given you this like strength in inside, like when it comes to that. And then I love this Temperance card, because I feel as though this Temperance card is saying that one of the gifts that you've been given, or one of the strengths that you've been given from this life, is you're in touch to your spirituality. The fact that you can have a grounded perspective at the same time as you can have a perspective of a higher realm at the same time as well too, and bring, it's almost as if you could be like some sort of channel and bring that higher perspective and ground it down into earth, whether that's through your communication skills or that's just through your energetic skills, you know, like anything like that. Regardless, it's something that's, I feel, definitely a strength here as well too. And then we have the Three of Wands. You do have a great perspective. You have this like perspective of where you can see past, you know, just what's right in front of your face, which is interesting, because the Forest can talk about you not being able to see through, you know, through the thick of it. You know, if you're trying to see something on the other side of the forest, all you can see is the trees if you're standing right in front of it. So this could have taught you again to see the higher perspective, to see the bigger picture as well too, which is a very good strength to have in life as well. And I think these things are needed when they're needed. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like something that you're like, oh yeah, I have that, but it's like when the time comes, you'll know, or you'll see that you definitely do have these strengths about you as well too. So let's see, what are some things that pile 4 should be aware of about this? Like, what are some lessons coming up for them right now in this life? Ooh, we have the 4 of Swords. And the Sun. Oh, I love that. So I feel right now, again, this is more of an energy of like, you're not going to know all the answers until you know them. Right now, you're really being guided to quiet down your mind. And I love how it's, because the 4 of Swords is a card of rest. So if you feel like, you know, you've been needing rest, or maybe you felt a little ashamed of maybe needing a little bit more rest than other people, this is saying that this is here for a reason. That's for a reason. Because, or at least you're supposed to be quieting down your mind. I feel like right now, meditation is the best practice for you. And we have this lamb, but I love that it's the sun. Like, this imagery is literally right there on this lamb's third eye, and this is, you know, their spiritual knowledge. And I think right now you're really being asked to quiet down and listen to it, because that is the clarity. When you think about the sun, you know, the sun brings a lot of clarity, because what we can't see in the dark, then the sun comes up and now we can see it's the light. So I think that there's a lot of clarity trying to come to you. You just need to quiet down. And if you do have a meditation practice, or you do quiet down as well too, then just think of this as like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. And if you don't, you know, it's never too late to start one. Or at least I feel as though this could be also like emotion wise as well too. Sometimes it's hard to hear or feel certain energies or wisdoms as well when there's a lot of chaos around us. So right now, maybe one of the challenges, or one of the things that you're being guided to ask to, is find as much peace as possible. Like, it's not even quite literally maybe meditating, even though I do believe meditation is exactly what this is, a great practice for this type of energy and for this pile. But it's also like soothing the chaos on the outer side and finding the peace within, and then you will find the clarity here. And the sun is also just, it's always a beautiful, positive energy. Look at that. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Cups. I feel like, yeah, you're being asked to maybe think on the positive side as well, too, because we have the 5 of Cups of, like, what the strengths that you brought. Like, you know, you are able to, you know, overcome loss, or maybe even see things in a more positive aspect. Like, I feel like you have a different perspective here from the strengths too, of like, maybe you're not viewing these things as like tragedies or loss anymore. Like, maybe you're viewing them as like lessons or things that you've overcome, or challenges, like almost in a better light, if that makes sense. A very wise soul type of way, you know, not like a victim mindset. Like, you know that there's a purpose for all things. You know that there's a reason for all things, and you know that it's not your fault if bad things happen to you, but you also know that bad things may happen, and that's okay, and you're strong enough to overcome them as well too. And I do believe that there is a beautiful energy coming to you, like almost like this Ace of Cups is almost like a new beginning in some way, but it's almost like a refresher, if that makes sense. And I think that's this Sun as well too. I think you're being asked to rest, to rejuvenate yourself, because the Sun is coming out for you. And that's very beautiful. I love that for you. I think it's well deserved. All right, so yeah, I think I'm going to leave this reading here. I really hope it helped in any way, shape, or form. Thank you so much to anyone who supports this channel in any type of way. And thank you to anyone who subscribes. And if you enjoyed this reading and you're not subscribed and you would like to see more, go ahead and subscribe, or else you may never see me again. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.